Hello, boys and girls. Today's story is about a divided kingdom. We've learnt about King Solomon, and there were so many people living in Judah and Israel while Solomon was king that they seemed like grains of sand on a beach. Everyone had enough to eat and drink, and they were happy. Everyone living in Israel, from the town of Dan in the north to Beersheba in the south, were safe as long as Solomon lived. Each family sat undisturbed beneath its own grapevines and fig trees. Sounds good, doesn't it? Solomon was the richest and wisest king in the world. Year after year, people came and bought gifts of silver and gold, as well as clothes, weapons, spices, horses or mules to Solomon. Solomon had 1,400 chariots, 12,000 horses, and he kept in Jerusalem and other towns. The Lord did not want the Israelites to worship foreign gods, so he had warned them not to marry anyone who was not from Israel. Solomon loved his wife, but he also loved some other women from other countries. 700 of his wives were daughters of kings, but he also married 300 other women. That's 1,000 altogether. As Solomon got older, some of his wives led him to worship their gods. He wasn't like his father David, who had worshipped only the Lord God. That made the Lord very angry. You see, God has 10 commandments for us to live by. One of those, the first one, is do not worship any god except me, and do not make idols. God said to Solomon, "You did what you wanted and not what I told you to do. Now I'm going to take your kingdom from you and give it to one of your officials. But because David was your father, you will remain king as long as you live. I will wait until your son is king. Then I'll take the kingdom from him. And when I do, I will still let him rule one tribe, because I have not forgotten that David was my servant, and Jerusalem is my city." And here's how it happened. Jeroboam was leaving Jerusalem. He met Ahijah, a prophet of God. No one else was around. And suddenly Ahijah took off his new coat, ripped it into 12 pieces. Then he said, "Jeroboam, take 10 pieces of this coat and listen to what the Lord God of Israel says to you. Jeroboam, I am the Lord God. I am about to take Solomon's kingdom from him and give you 10 tribes to rule." After Solomon had ruled 40 years in Jerusalem, he died and was buried there in the city of his father David. His son Rehoboam then became king. The kingdom then divided. The people from the northern tribes followed Jeroboam, and that was called Israel, leaving Rehoboam, Solomon's son, to rule only the southern people in Judah. All of this happened just as the Lord's prophet Ahijah had told Jeroboam. So the kingdom was divided. Jesus, though, is always faithful, and we can be united with him if we choose.